Pep Clotet brought in Bellingham. Talk to me about him, and can you remember your first moment playing with Jude?
Yeah, so Jude was actually started training with us the year before. So he would have been in year 11 doing his GCSEs, and he would get sort of day release from school to come and train with us, and that was under Gary Monk. And yeah, I mean, straight away you could just see the composure and the ability for such a young boy, but also the tenacity and the confidence and the mindset from such a young man, or a boy really. It was incredible to see really that maturity. He was very, very, very humble, very, very respectful, but also just so confident and had, it was no sideways glances. It was always just what's straight ahead of him. It was really, really impressive mindset from such a young age. And then that's on top of the obvious ability that he had.
You mentioned mindset. Do you think that is something he was born with, or was that nurtured throughout his time within the academy? I'm just interested on that mindset at a young age to come in such an environment, and it reflects back to your story. You mentioned Everton and the egos and having to cope with the transition of moving away. Obviously, Bellingham is from the area, but where do you think that mindset comes in? Where do you think that's built?
Yeah, it's hard to really use something. It's not really tangible at times. You can't really place a value on it. I'm sure a lot of it is innate, but I'm certain that I know that his upbringing plays a part in that. I know he's got a really, really good family around him. Obviously, Job, his brother, has that similar sort of mindset as well. So, of course, I think, these are all the lessons that they've been learning throughout their childhood at home within the academy. I'm sure that all plays a part, but there certainly has to be something that's just innate, I think, as well.
Did you play with his brother?
Yes, played with his brother as well. So really privileged to play with the both of them. I think having fantastic careers, and obviously will go on to achieve even more amazing things. But good lads as well. Really, really humble. Really, really respectful. And not always easy to be that way when you have the ability that they have.
What's your proudest goal at Birmingham City? Is there anything that stands out?
I think as a striker, you always say, they all count one, but there were times where it felt like they counted for more than that, in some of the situations we were in at the end of the season. I think the fact that scoring big goals was important to me. I think the fact that they came where we kind of needed them the most, really, at the end of seasons when we're perhaps looking at a worse outcome. So I think some of the bigger ones I enjoyed. Again, the last day of the season against Fulham, that kind of set us on our way to winning that game. And it's hard to think off the cuff, really, but mainly the ones towards the end of the season, the ones that we really, really needed to get us over the line and get us safe.
I love your goal against Sheffield Wednesday, the header.
Oh yeah, that was the first one. Yeah, first ever one.
There's flexibility with your neck heading the ball, but also the cameraman on Gary Rowett, and he's celebrating.
He's doing a little jig with the assistant manager, I think. Yeah.
I think it was unique. It was a moment, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you want to start well at a football club. Whenever you're a new signing, particularly as a striker, the best way to endear yourself to the fans, first of all, run around, work really hard, but also score an early goal. And that was my home debut as well. So to get 93rd minute winner on my home debut was the perfect start, and kind of set the relationship on its way. But that was an important goal for me personally as well, because I'd had the season out with the ACL injury, the season where I hadn't really played that much in the Premier League. So I needed that goal to remind myself, that I could score goals.
Just on the unpacking of strikers, did you prefer playing with someone up top with you, or being an isolated striker? So in terms of systems, 4-4-2 and then maybe 4-3-3, and maybe being that pioneer striker of holding the ball up. Which one did you prefer?
I think I probably was most successful in a 2 at Birmingham, certainly. But I think the main thing is having support runners. I think whether you play as a 1 in a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it, there's moving parts. There's not always just a structure. But I think the main thing is having the ability to have teammates that will, first of all, run beyond you and then get close to you as well. So it's not so much the system, but the fact that whether you've got willing runners around you, because particularly after I had my ACL injury, there wasn't for me the option to run away from people in behind. I would work hard and I would try and work the channels, but I didn't have the ability to run away from defenders. So if they know that and they're able to play as tight as possible, then you need someone that will stretch it in behind so that they just have a little bit of a threat, and then will have to step off you, and then you have the space to get the ball into the feet. So really it's about making sure that you've got runners in and around you and bodies, so that when the ball comes up to you, you've got options right away, really. So yeah, for me, that was really important.
Well, what advice would you give to maybe anyone listening or watching this podcast about being an athlete? Is there anything that you think is significant, just reflection on your story, but you would maybe tell people in the position that they might be in now in relation to your story, that Everton and Swindon and Southampton as well, that you think is really important to become an elite performer?
I think probably that there's no shortcuts. That you can't cut corners. Eventually, whether you realise it or not, that you'll find out. And unfortunately, yeah, it may be too late when you do find that out. I think I had a real change in my mentality when I did my ACL, and I think I was 26 when it happened. And it made me realise that actually this career can be taken away from you if it happens at the wrong time. And it gave me a real appreciation for being able to do what you do, and even more so. And I think I tried to keep that with me until I finished playing, that every training session was a blessing. Every time that you went out and played, every time that you trained, there is the possibility that you won't be allowed to do that one day. So I tried to maintain that the whole time, and in order to make sure that I kind of gave everything that I had.
I love that. It's a sense of gratitude and humbleness.
Yeah, well, that's it. Just because I realised that actually when that happened, if I'd have been out of contract when that happened, then maybe that could have possibly been the end for me. So it was only real luck that I had 1 year remaining on my contract, and I could keep doing it and keep playing, and then have the chance to build yourself up.
What are your thoughts on the new ownership at Birmingham City? We say new. It's a few years old now.
Yeah, a few years, exactly. Yeah, a few years old, and I think that what it's given every Birmingham City fan is hope, which is what you want for your football club, and optimism, and the understanding that tomorrow can actually be better than today. I think that wasn't always the case under the previous ownership. There was a lot of worry and a lot of anxiety around fans of what direction their football club was headed in, and that whether the people that looked after it and were the stewards of it actually cared about it, or whether there was apathy there, and that can breed throughout a football club. So to have people that are so driven, so single-minded of the direction that this club's taken is just really exciting for everybody in and around the football club. I think fans, staff, players, everyone.
You mentioned the moment when Gary Rowett got sacked. Can you remember the moment when the American owners came in and spoke to the team and to the staffing? Can you remember that?
Yeah, so Tom came and spoke to us. I think it was before the Leeds game, when the takeover had finally been done and everything like that. So yeah, he came and spoke to everybody. And I don't know if you've ever been in his company, but he's incredibly engaging, incredibly charismatic. You believe everything that's coming out of his mouth. He's just he's the real deal. He's everything that this football club has kind of needed, really. So for him to come in and give a speech to the players and the staff, and you could get a sense of how important it was going to be to him.
And obviously Tom Brady as well. Did you ever build a relationship up with him in terms of developing your skill set as an athlete?
Yeah, so Tom, I think obviously Tom's a really busy man, so he's got a lot going on. I think he's a part owner of Las Vegas Raiders as well, and he's got various businesses, I'm sure. But he's involved. He's given team talks, not right before the game, but he's spoke with the players. He's given us advice of situations that he's found himself in, and given that experience. I mean, he's been at the top level for so long that any little bit of information that he's willing to give, everybody's all ears. And he's not had an easy path either. It's not like he had a straight line to greatness either. He was a 199th pick in the NFL draft. He was potentially going to go undrafted and had to work his way up and go from a third string up to a starter eventually. And so he understands what overcoming challenges is all about. So whenever he speaks, people listen.
What were your thoughts on the documentary that was posted?
Yeah, it seems to be all the rage with a lot of football clubs now, and it's amazing for the commercialisation of the game. It's so important to kind of spread that audience as well. So it's great to see Birmingham City painted in such a good light as well, to show that they're doing things the right way, and that they are going somewhere.